Hey everyone, this is OKCoyote. Welcome back to the Magic the Gathering December Pack-A-Day Challenge for December 29th. Today's pack is Modern Horizons 2. So, what is the Pack-A-Day Challenge? I am opening a pack of Magic every day in December, a different pack every day. The first 24 were randomly determined. The last 7 are packs of my own choosing because I want to have a little fun. So today is Modern Horizons 2. This is a set that came out earlier this year, I think, or maybe late last year, but I think it was this year. It is not a standard legal set. It is. I don't think they're all reprints. I think there's some reprints and some new cards, but the idea is that they are not standard legal, but they are all modern legal, which is everything from like Mirrodin forward, everything with a new card frame. And I seem to recall there was some pretty good stuff in here, some good reprints, some powerful new cards, and people were very excited by this set. Obviously, they were excited by the first Modern Horizons, and that's why we got a Modern Horizons 2. Anyway, I have not played... I've played very little of this set because it's not an arena. So I think I've only played sealed with it once. That said, I think a lot of the cards, a lot of the newer cards, I think a lot of the cards from this set ended up in Arena anyway as like jumpstart cards. So, so I'm familiar with some of the cards, even if I don't know the set proper. But we're gonna find out what's in this pack right now. So let's get into it. I think also there's all kinds of craziness in this set, like all kinds of different abilities pop up. I mean, when you have all of modern history, that's like a 20-year history. Just about. It's a lot of magic. All right, so we start off with Steelfin Whale. This is 5 and a blue for a 3/4 whale with affinity for artifacts. Something we haven't seen in a while. Affinity means the spell costs 1 less to cast for each artifact you control. And it says, whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, untap Steelfin Whale. So this is not going to be great in draft. Although it might be good in this draft. Now that I think of it, I think Modern Horizons actually had a pretty serious artifact theme, so you could get a lot of artifacts and make this pretty good. But yeah, definitely Affinity is a set that, or is a deck type that people really like to build. I think it's still pretty decent in Modern. It was a lot of fun back in the Mirrodin block. I won a lot of games with Affinity back in the day. So yeah, if you can get your hands on some artifacts, this is pretty good. If you can make it cheap, then it's worth the cost. Unholy Heat is a red mana instant. Unholy Heat deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. And it has Delirium. Unholy Heat deals 6 damage instead if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard. This is not bad. It's not as good as Lightning Bolt, which is a straight 3 damage to something for 1 mana, but 2 damage to a creature or planeswalker, yep, it's a solid burn spell for 1 mana. If you can trigger that Delirium, which you'll probably do late game, then it ups to 6 and becomes fantastic. So it's a matter of getting 4 card types in your graveyard. You know, the first 3 would be pretty easy. You can pretty easily get an instant sorcery in there. Creatures die all the time, so there's your 3. Getting an enchantment or a land into the battlefield, or into your graveyard, might be a little more difficult. But once you've done it, there you go. Turns on Delirium. Rift Sower. 2 and a green for a 1/3 elf druid. It taps to add 1 mana of any color, and it has Suspend 2 for a green mana. So rather than cast this card from your hand, you may pay a green and exile it with 2 time counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a time counter. When the last is removed, cast it without paying its mana cost. It has haste. So Suspend, an old time spiral mechanic, basically allows you to pay time instead of mana to help cover the cost of something. So for 2 and a green, this is not fantastic as a mana elf. But for 1 green and 2 turns, maybe a little better. Still, I just prefer my 1/1 Llanowar elf and be able to use it next turn. So I don't think this is too. I don't think it's especially exciting. Late to Dinner is next, and this looks like a sketch art, an artist draft card, or a sketch art proof, something like that. It's a sketch drawing instead of a full finished art. There is a full version. There's a regular finished version of this card. So this is just like an alternate image. What's neat about these in Modern Horizons is when you get these sketch art, in the flavor text, it tells you, it actually shows you the notes for the artist, what they're looking for, what they asked the artist to design. So very interesting. Anyway, Late to Dinner is 3 and a white, sorcery. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Create a food token. Cool. Bringing a creature back from graveyard straight to battlefield is always pretty strong. Something white can do, but it's not generally cheap. So getting that extra food token out of the effect makes this a little more preferable, a little more fun to do. I don't feel it's a very strong card, but I guess it depends on what creatures you're running and whether you want them to sacrifice and come back, or something to. It really depends on what you're running. How valuable are your creatures, and how badly do you need to get them back? Bone Shards is a sorcery for a black mana. As an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a creature or discard a card. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. Solid. This is great removal. The cost of a creature or a card and 1 mana to destroy something? Sure, I'll take that. I mean, it is effectively a 2-for-1, but it's a very cheap 2-for-1. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to get rid of something. It's, I'd definitely take a card like that. Faithless Salvaging, 1 and a red, instant. Discard a card, then draw a card. We call that a rummage effect. Rebound. If you cast the spell from your hand, exile it as it resolves. At the beginning of your next upkeep, you may cast this card from exile without paying its mana cost. So, it lets you rummage twice. Once now and once later. Not fantastic, but early on, pretty decent if you need to ditch cards and get to certain cards. And if for some reason you need to get cards in your graveyard, maybe you want to trigger Delirium for your Unholy Heat. So could be good in combination with things. Terminal Agony. 2 black-red sorcery. Destroy target creature. And it has Madness, black-red. If you discard this card, discard it into exile. When you do, cast it for its Madness cost, or put it into your graveyard. So basically, it's 4 mana to destroy something, but if something forces you to discard this card, you can then pay 2 mana right away and cast it instead. So, pretty neat. And as a straight destroy target creature, it's a solid removal too. I like it. Chatterstorm. So, Storm is back. And I think this is a pretty good one. 1 and a green, sorcery. Create a 1/1 green squirrel creature token. Storm. When you cast the spell, copy it for each spell cast before it this turn. So, it is ridiculously easy to chain together a bunch of spells and cast this with a high storm count and get a bunch of triggers off of it. So, just saying, this card is freakishly good. It will surprise people. I think it's better in Constructed, but in draft, it's still going to have some effect. Step Through. 3 blue, sorcery. Return 2 target creatures to their owner's hands. Wizard cycling 2. You may pay 2 and discard this card to search your library for a wizard card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. I feel like 5 mana to bounce 2 creatures is pricey, probably not good, so I would be more likely to use this for its wizard cycling effect. And then again, it's gonna just matter. It's gonna depend on what wizards are in my deck, if any. So this is something I would draft late, and it would depend on what I already had. Blossoming Calm. White mana instant. You gain hexproof until your next turn. You gain 2 life. And Rebound. This is the first uncommon in the pack. It's also not very good. I've never really gotten these you gain hexproof cards to work very well. I don't feel this is very strong. Next up is Fey Offering. 2 and a green enchantment. At the beginning of each end step, if you've cast both a creature spell and a non-creature spell this turn, create a clue token, a food token, and a treasure token. Neat. It's very tricky to pull this off, but it's interesting. This would be fun to build around, but I probably wouldn't draft this. Archfiend of Sorrows. 5 black, 4/5 demon with flying. When Archfiend of Sorrows enters the battlefield, creatures your opponents control get -2/-2 until end of turn. It has Unearth 3 black. So for 3 black, you may return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Exile it at the beginning of the next end step, or if it would leave the battlefield. Unearth only as a sorcery. So this is a big nasty flyer and a mass removal spell at the same time. And even once it dies, you can bring it back, get an extra attack off of it, and an extra mass removal trigger. This is a fantastic card at uncommon. It's a bit pricey at 7, but I would totally run this anyway. I look at this. This looks like a bomb rare to me, and it's at uncommon. So, yeah. That's I would play that to end a game. And it probably will end a game. Next is Extruder. 4 mana for a 4/3 artifact creature Juggernaut. And has Echo 4. At the beginning of your upkeep, if this came under your control since the beginning of your last upkeep, sacrifice it unless you pay its Echo cost. Sacrifice an artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Interesting. So it's a 4/3 for 4, but you have to pay that 4 twice. I don't think that's really incredibly good, and I don't think its ability is really incredibly good either. It has some versatility to it, but it's kind of expensive to get it working. Before we get to our rare, let's look at the rest of the pack. We have a Ferexian Germ token. These tokens are generated by living weapon equipment cards. They're cards that equipment cards with living weapon. You make this token and automatically attach to them. They used to just be germ tokens. Now they actually are Ferexian Germ. So there you go, 0/0 Ferexian Germ. We actually have a rare and a foil rare. So let's do the regular rare first. It is Suspend. Blue mana instant. Exile target creature and put 2 time counters on it. If it doesn't have Suspend, it gains Suspend. So this will take basically takes a creature out of play for 2 turns. Doesn't phase it out. It does exile it, but yeah, it suspends, and 2 turns later it pops back into play. It can be used as a temporary removal card for one of your opponent's creatures, or can use it on your own creature to save it. I mean, saves it by locking it away for a couple turns, but you do eventually get it back. I like it. For 1 blue, it's not bad. And our our foil rare is Master of Death. 1 blue-black for a 3/1 zombie wizard. When Master of Death enters the battlefield, surveil 2. Surveil is like Scry, except you look at in this case, the top 2 cards of your library. You may place any of them in your graveyard. Whatever you don't place in your graveyard, you put back on top of your library in any order. So 3/1, surveil 2 when it enters. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Master of Death is in your graveyard, you may pay 1 life. If you do, return it to your hand. Cool. Like those zombies, they like to bring themselves back, and this has a cool extra ability as well, with the allowing you to surveil potentially multiple times. I like it. It's a fun card. It's not my first pick, though. Out of this pack, I think my first pick... you got solid removal with Bone Shards, but my first pick would be Archfiend of Sorrows, because I like a big bomb flyer, and that's going to get the job done for me. So, yep, that is going to do it. I had fun with this pack. It's going to do it for the Modern Horizons 2 pack. If you like this video, then like this video. You could also subscribe to my channel, and you can follow me over on Twitter at OKCoyote. That's going to do it for this episode of the December Pack-A-Day Challenge. We will see you tomorrow with another pack. Bye-bye.